Hello everybody! So today, as you can see from the title, I'm going to do the opposite books tag. I've been watching quite many videos about that today and I like it. Let's get on with it. First book in your collection and the last book you bought. As the first book in my collection, I would say it is Prophecy of the Gems by Flavia Bujor. I'd say that this is the first actual real book that I read, like first fantasy, and I really liked it and it took me into reading, and then I just started sucking the books in like a sponge or something. I think I was about 10 when I read it, 10, 11, and that's where it all began. And the newest book in my collection, which I just bought a few days ago, is Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters by Jane Austen and Ben H. Winters. I just bought this one because they really sound interesting and I've heard good things about the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which I also want to read. So I just found this one. I was like, oh heck, this is going with me. A cheap book and an expensive book. My cheap book, I have The Labyrinth by Kate Moss. I think it's pronounced Moss. It was €3 and I can't get this tag off without tearing the jacket, so it just have to stay in there. My expensive book, I don't have the price tag in it anymore, but just by my memory I would say that it is the Necronomic by H.P. Lovecraft. It's a beautiful book. I still haven't read it because when I bought it I think I was about 15 or something, and since English is not my native language, it did contain some pretty hard words for me back then, so I should try reading it again. It also has some awesome illustrations in there. If I remember right, this was around like €40 or something. A book with male protagonist and a book with female protagonist. For my male, I have Eragon from the Inheritance series. I just love seeing the growth of the character. Oh my god, it's not this hard to talk. I just love seeing the growth of the character throughout these 4 books. It's amazing, and he becomes pretty kick-ass fighter, and he sounds kinda hot. I really love Eragon, also Ronan, but Eragon. He's a bit like whiny and arrogant in the first book, so I was a bit like but then I started reading all the other ones and he's just like, oh my god, he's so good, he's so... More people really should read this book. I haven't seen this book once in BookTube. I've never seen it in there. Nobody talks about it, and it's such an awesome series. 928 pages, and it's as thick as the book that I have, which contains all of the Lord of the Rings series. Nice! And as my female protagonist I have Arya from the Under the Never Sky series. I really like her because she's not like whiny and all that, like, oh, just looking for romance, oh, I want love, which quite a few are. She's getting used to like a whole new thing. Just read it now. A book that you read fast and a book that took you forever to complete. For the book that I read fast, I'm going to go with The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I read this one with 3 sittings on a bus, so it's about 3.5 hours. I did read it on a bus, which was a huge mistake. I did have to slow it down. From here on you just cry throughout the whole book, and I was in a bus, so I didn't want to cry in a bus. Didn't work. And the book that really took me forever to complete, I'm going with the Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. I really don't know if it's because I read it in Finnish, but it was really childish and stupidly written, and I just this near ripping my eyeballs out. It was just awful. I still haven't read any other books from this series. And I would really like to know if it's really worth of the all hype to read it in English, because at least I know that I am not going to continue in Finnish. Actually, I chose this one because this one I actually finished. The other option would be New Moon. I read it for 1.5 years and then I gave it up. Oh, Whiny Bella, I just couldn't do it. It was awful. Oh. And actually I was borrowing that from my friend, so at that point I really did need to give it back to her. I had it for over 1.5 years. Oops. Then I have pretty cover and ugly cover. My pretty cover I have Breathe by Sarah Crossan from the Breathe. I really like the colors and the setting on this photo because it's just awesome. It continues into the back and it's just awesome, and it says everything that you need to know from this. It is like a post-apocalyptic. They have like, there are no plants on Earth anymore because of the human growth. We just kept chopping them off, and then the last ones died, and then we didn't have any air to breathe because we didn't have any plants. So now they're just living on this pod where they make air, I don't know from where, but they just live on the pod, and they have like premiums and auxiliaries. Of course there's resistance and things happen, and this is awesome. I really did like this one. My ugly cover, I have the Finnish cover of Graceling by Kerstin Kashaw. I really don't like this cover. I got this as a present and it took me a few years to read it just because the cover looked so bad. But then I read it and it was actually amazing, and I just ordered all 3 of these. We have the Graceling, then we have Fire and Bitter Blue, which are like companion books to this one. I ordered them all, so I want to read this one in English again, hoping it's even more awesome like that, and it has the pretty cover, so I can let this one go. Just look at that. It has, like, it would be nice if it was a bit better done. A national book and an international book. The national book, I don't really have a lot of these. I don't read Finnish books, they're usually not that great. Is Playing Solo by Katja Kallio. I haven't read this one yet, I've had it for a long time. I really should read it. They did a movie about this one too, but I think that's also in Finnish, so it won't help any of you. And an international book is really easy for me because I would say 99% of my books are international. But I try to get one from like not England or not the USA or any of that. So I'm going with The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, who is Polish. Thick book and a thin book. Thin book I have Villarica by Pelle Miljoona. This is also a Finnish one. Ooh, 2 in 1 video. I think this is like only thin book that I own. I don't have any thin books. And my thick book is the one book with the first 3 Mortal Instruments books. So it contains City of Bones, City of Ashes and City of Glass. It's huge, and I should actually get going with this, but I usually have it under my computer because it's so thick that it keeps it not warming up. 103,020 pages. That's quite a lot. 103,020 pages. Fiction book and a non-fiction book. For my fiction book I took Stravaganza City of Masks by Mary Hoffman. I still feel that there is not enough hype talking at all going around this series. I really like them. And as my non-fictional book I just grabbed the first one because I don't really have a lot of these ones either. The 12,000 Reasons to be Happy, because I think this book is adorable. 12,000 like just one word's worth of being happy for. A very romantic or way too romantic book and an action book. Very way too romantic book. I have Shiver by Maggie Stiefwater. This is somehow I quite enjoy the story. It's again, I'm reading it in Finnish, so it might be changed throughout the translate, but it's It's way too insta-love and just all like, oh, love me forever, we known each other for 2 days. And I would say Twilight, but I don't have any of those books with me. I don't own any of the Twilight books, I hate them. My action is actually Avengers vs X-Men by the Marvel Comics. Yes, it is a comic book, but it's still a book. It's actually a comic book of 13 books in total, I think. And it is packed with action, and I think you all are going to grow in knowing how much I love my superheroes and comics. And lastly, we have a book that made you happy and a book that made you sad. The book that made me happy is going to be Soul Music by Terry Pratchett. I was laughing out loud reading this book, as many of Terry Pratchett books tend to do. This one was just amazing. Mr. You have my heart and soul and everything with it. And as a book that made me sad, I'm going to go with Looking for Alaska by John Green. It didn't make me as sad as The Fault in Our Stars, but it also did make me sad. I didn't cry, it did still make me sad, but it's an amazing book. You, sir, know how to do good books. Keep doing what you're doing. So that is my opposite books tag. Yeah. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and do subscribe. You can give me some ideas what you would like to see. I think I'm going to go pretty much with like hauls. I have the unboxing coming, some reviews from the Resist coming, and from some other books. And some tags. When I find nice ones, I just do them. Just keep doing what I'm doing. So I'll see you next time. Bye!